breath.
Mate, what Jamie whenever.
You're fine.
Thank you everybody for coming to the second part of today. Today we have our student Wendy, and she is doing this as part of her assessments, is make a presentation. She's doing these assessments on, these presentations on starting to plan a wedding and what's that on? Executing the wedding, so there you go. So
it's leading up to the wedding.
So Wendy-Leigh, all yours.
Thank you. Am I nervous? Do I do this on a daily basis? No. Am I nervous? Yes, but I'll get there. Okay, as you can actually see, this is starting to plan a wedding. Now, as we all know, planning is a big issue. We can start with a mustard seed and we have to have knowledge of this much. So what happens is we need a plan, don't we? So what we need to do is we have usually 5 phases of planning any event or wedding, but I'm only going to discuss 3. So the first of all is initiation. So what do we think of when we say initiation? What would you think of? Anyone know?
Start.
All right, start. Where would you start, Vivian?
Making a list of everything that you need.
That's right. So first of all, when it comes to a wedding, we need to actually start with the client. So we need to meet and greet the client. And some are going to be wonderful and you get on with the house on fire. Some will be not so good. And you'll know that because you will actually see. Don't worry, we have had plenty of those. Bridezillas, Godzillas. Usually, first of all, when you actually meet your client, you'll have a bride and a groom that will come to you. And not only that, you usually have about, say, half an hour to an hour to sit down with them and you go through things. So you discuss their big day. Most brides that come into, whether you work at a venue or you work for yourself, they'll come to you and they already have an idea of what they want. So they know their colours, they know what they want, they have an idea of the theme. But then you have to present the next part. You have to work out the ceremony details and you get as much information as you can on pieces of paper and you put them all together as a run sheet. So what happens is it takes about half an hour to an hour to discuss it all and you write out all your information and then what you do is you try to book them in. So you need to save the date. So that being in capitals is the biggest part of the wedding. So you book them in, you make a tentative booking up to about 7 days and they must pay a deposit. And a deposit could be $2,000. It could be $500. It depends on what it actually is and where you work. So the next stage is planning. So as you can see, I've got Chris that's going to give you a leaflet and it's actually a wedding budget and it actually shows you the different stages that you have to work through. You've got apparel, you've got decorations, you've got gifts, and it will actually give you a breakdown of all this. What it does is it gives you the overall of everything that you are going to have to plan. When it comes to apparel, you have so many things. So you also need to be the bride's eyes, ears. So you will need to find a veil, maybe her wedding dress, the wedding shoes. You might have to find the wedding dress. You can do these things too. It's all called your brain. So you get out there, Google's great now because you can just get on the site and Google whatever you like. Then when it comes to decorations, table centerpieces, you have that many pieces to choose from. And I'm not kidding, I have seen thousands. But the best part is you usually give them, you either take this or this or this, and you give them a strategic choice. So they can choose, say, 1 or 3 of these items. Then when it comes to flowers and music, well, flowers are usually fake or they're fresh. If you go to a florist, they'll be fresh, obviously. And not only that, you can usually get seasonal flowers. So what they'll do is if you have a posy and they want roses. Now, you can't always get colourful roses. You might get seasonal roses. but then you have Columbia roses as well. So we have an Australian rose and a Columbia rose. What's the difference? The size, the texture, and also, you know, the colour variation. Not only that, posies can cost anywhere up to $100 just by themselves, depending on how many roses you want. What we say to our brides is, we say, you can have roses, but we also give you a seasonal choice of assorted flowers in with the posy, so that it's not so expensive. What we also do is we work with music and photography, and I can tell you now, as a wedding planner, I've actually got 21 years experience as a wedding planner. Is it different to the events? Yes, it is. Would I go into events? Yeah, I'd love to, but I really enjoy what I like to do. My passion is weddings. I love being able to go the extra mile. So if my bride says to me, can you get me bridal accessories? I want to have a barefoot ceremony. Well, what would you think of if you had a barefoot ceremony?
The beach.
Hey?
The beach.
The beach. Yeah. So you can get accessories. They look like thongs, but they're not. Okay? They're just little, they look like, they go between your toes and they hook around the back. They've got beads and little jewellery, and they might have, you know,
Candles.
little bling. Yeah. Candles.
Similar to what you've got.
Yes, sort of. Yeah, but they're white. You can get them from different suppliers. They are around. There's a place on the Gold Coast that sell them big time. Not only that, with ceremony location, you have so many ceremonies to look for. You can have a chapel, you can have a beach wedding, or a beach ceremony, sorry. You can have, it could be in the botanical gardens, it could be anywhere really. So you've got to think, is it going to be indoors? Is it going to be outdoors? What happens if it rains? Where are you going to rebook it? Where can you find things, you know, to work with their budget? If I ask you a question, who thinks the biggest part of the budget would be spent on what? What do you think it would be? Okay?
The wedding dress.
Food and beverage.
Yes.
The venue.
Pretty much between your venue and your food and your beverages, yes, because that's the biggest chunk of your budget. You can pay anywhere, I think the minimum is about $59 per head. And so if you have a guest list of 80 to 100 people, you've got to pay that up front in your deposit, and you're not aware of it. When it comes to reception, when you tentatively book your reception, you must pay the deposit. But you have 7 days within, you know, as a cooling off period to actually book and pay for the ceremony. If you pay the deposit, you then have 3 months after that to pay the difference, which is the beverages and your food as well. So you have to pay the full amount as a deposit. So if you've got a ceremony, that might be $550. But I can tell you as a wedding planner, there is a trick to the trade. If you get married, or know anyone that's getting married in winter, you can get your ceremonies for free. You just have to look around because they throw them in as a package. And so I found as a wedding planner, you have to not only use your brain, but you have to think outside the box. So yes, you are dealing with the client, but you're trying to get them the best deal for their money. I can tell you from experience, do not try to barter down your florist. It doesn't work. They're already giving you bottom dollar. You can, however, add a 5% on top of that, your charge, to the bride and groom, if you want, but you don't need to, because they're already going to do things like that. So what I've actually done here is really, I have suppliers that I know personally that are my friends, as well as business people that I know, and they have actually helped me put this list together. So everything that I have in my presentations are from suppliers. I have done my research, I have went there face to face, we've knuckled out, you know, packaged together. So between this presentation to the next, they will flow into the other one, okay? Also invitations and stationery. We know that invitations could be anywhere from whatever size to amount, whatever. So it includes your envelopes, it includes all your decorations. You get to choose. You get to go to the actual person that deals with all that and that supplies that. So that's actually a good thing because that saves you that stress of like, and I can tell you now, your brides will be stressed because they don't want to handle all the little nitty-gritties. They want you to do that. So you need to say, yeah, I can do that. Some days you go, how the hell am I going to do that? Because you do think like that. And you think, oh, I can't deliver that or I can't do that. In reality, it might look like that, but in real life it's not like that. But look, as you can see, there is a list there. I'm going to get, Chris, he's already handed that out, so I'm going to get you to hand out the next one. The next one is actually a contract. This is a contract that I've used personally myself. You can copy it. I have not put every detail in it. Alright, so I've left out the amount of like phone calls or emails. I've just left a bracket there so that you can put your own two bobs worth in. And we actually talk about things, the description of your services. What description of services are we going to supply? That's what you need to put in as number one. So what I'm going to say is at the top of your actual contract when you get it, in the left hand corner at the top, it's got lines. You put the bride's name, her phone number, work number or mobile number, you put the groom's name, same, you put their address down. So you try and get their details. So all the details from your run sheet and information you get can go into your contract and you put it all together. So what you do is if they ring up and say, look, I need this, what can you tell me? You need to know what they're like. So group them into months when you file them and things like that. Conditions of the contract. We talk about fees and payment schedules, terms, terminations, changes and cancellations. With changes, I can honestly say anything to do with if there's a death in the family or there is actually, like they've split up. Now, if it's within a certain time frame, which might be, say they're getting married in December and it's already June. If it's in that 6-month period, they can get a certain percentage of their deposit back, which is usually half or depending. It really depends. You need to make sure that you are strategic in your actual contracts, because if you leave one word out, they can say, oh, but you said. Now you need to really make sure your contracts cover all your basics. Not only that, cancellations also do include fees and stuff like that. So if they can't pay you or I've had brides pay right up until a time frame and then go, I can't pay you anymore, can I give it to you on the day? No, because you're going to run around with your head chopped off like a chalk. You don't need the stress. You've got too many other people to worry about too. So you have to really work it when you talk to them, when you lay down the contract and this and that, what you require. But I can tell you now that you will know whether you're going to work with that bride. You don't need to work with every bride. I've worked with that from experience because you can pull your hair out. You will have bridezillas. You'll have godzillas. Does anyone know what those terms actually mean? Bridezilla is a difficult bride. Godzilla is their mothers, and their mothers are worse than the brides. Okay? That's the only way I can tell you, because they are. They want everything perfect. If your glasses on the table are not lined up and you can't see them in a straight line, you reshuffle them. If your tablecloths don't match up all the way along, change them. Make sure they're perfect, because only one little incident, it only takes one imperfection and your whole day will be ruined. You have to think quick on your feet as a planner. Anything. Don't we? We as planners really have to find the solution. We have to be ears, eyes and everything else. So I always say, you know what? Okay, let's keep going. Also, you need to have the signature of not only your bride, your groom, you also need the date. You also need it signed by yourself, and you also have to have, some of them have a JP that also needs to be signed. Okay, this is actually the end of this presentation, but I actually want you to get all off your backsides. I want you to shake it like a Polaroid picture.